Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. Our guests today are Leo Birenberg and Zach Robinson. They are the Emmy-winning composers for their work on Weird, the Al Yankovich Story, and they've been the composers of the just completed Cobra Kai since the beginning. They've been with that show. They also just completed the music for the first season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spiderman, which just completed its first season on Disney Plus. Leo and Zach, welcome to Cherry the Geek TV.
Thank you for having
Thanks for
us.
having us.
Let's start with Cobra Kai. Take me back to the beginning. When you first heard the concept that they're going to bring back these characters from the Karate Kid in this new show, were you like the rest of us that said, on paper, this sounds terrible. This is a horrible idea. And were you like the rest of us? Was there a point where you were like, oh, once you like saw a script or once you saw a completed episode, you were like, oh, wait a second, I was completely wrong. This is this show has no business being this great, but it's fantastic.
Oh yeah. So our journey was a little different because when we first heard about the show, we had no idea that there was any original cast involvement. We just knew that it was like built out of the IP from Karate Kid and called Cobra Kai. And it wasn't until we had a meeting for the show, like the day before, they sent us the scripts for the first two episodes from season one, and we read them. And that is the first time we realized that Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso were actually in this show. And we never had a doubt from the scripts. They read incredibly. Like, I remember us texting each other as we were reading them, like, prepping for our meeting the next day. And we were just like, I don't know. It was so obvious that the material was being handled with like true love and care, and was very smart and witty, and just like giving everyone who probably thought on paper it was going to be terrible something that they were not expecting whatsoever. And it immediately got us so hyped. So like we knew right then that it was going to be super special.
So the show is based on these movies from the 80s, right? And there's this terrific score from Bill Conti that has lingered in people's minds for decades. There's a lot of 80s rock songs. The Cobra Kai series set in present day, there's still that 80s feel to it, right? Johnny Lawrence is an 80s kid. He's still listening to his 80s metal. You guys composed this score, and it has this 80s vibe, this 80s energy, this 80s feel to it. Uh, but there's still little sprinkles of Conti music here and there, especially in those early seasons. Talk to me about creating that balance and bringing that 80s feel into the modern day and still honoring some of those musical themes that people are familiar with from the original films.
Yeah, so that's something that we talked about a lot with John, Josh, and Hayden, the creators. We talk about this also a lot with journalists like yourself, where we knew that the soundtrack to the Karate Kid is very memorable, but what we found is that people mostly remembered kind of the soundtrack, the songs from the needle drops, especially the kind of like 80s pop rock tracks from that soundtrack more so than kind of the Conti melodies. Like Conti's score has more of a vibe that we were trying to channel. And yeah, in those early episodes, we were constantly trying to balance like which dojo are we with and how do we represent each dojo. And we had our 80s rock, we had our Conti-esque symphonic orchestra for Daniel, and then we had our synthwave inspired modern electro for the kids. And then as the score grew and as the karate saga grew and as the karate wars of 2022 went global, we had to also decide like how are we going to like just beef up our score every single year. And I think if you look at season one, I mean, if you look at season one and then you look at season six, from the first piece of music we wrote to the last one, um, you just could not believe the journey that got us there. And we just always had to kind of scale with the show. But while we were scaling, we kept the tenets of the original score ideas. We kept the hair metal influence. We kept the Conti-esque orchestra and really kind of tried to develop it into our own. So we hope that, our music stands the test of time like Conti's did with Karate Kid. 30 years from now, we'll see when the new kids are doing like the Cobra Kai reboot, and we're the old people.
So as the series evolves and grows, you start developing these themes, right? For specific characters, you have themes for specific dojos, you have themes for certain relationships. Do you each have a favorite over the years? Your favorite theme that you've composed for specific?
Oh wow. I have no idea. You know what? I'm a big fan of the Sam LaRusso theme, which is
Hmm.
like first embodied in this track called, well, not first embodied, but its kind of signature track is the track called Sam and Robbie, which we did like an extended version of at one point. I just love that theme. It has always been very fun to work with and sort of transform as Sam has kind of transformed as a character and her fighting style has evolved. And I don't know. I just think we got a lot of mileage, good mileage out of that theme.
I'm gonna miss Terry Silver a lot. I'm gonna miss his music. I'm gonna miss every time he comes on the screen how excited I get when I get to sit in front of a keyboard and pull out his theme. It's just so we did our own theme, not the Conti Karate Kid 3 Terry Silver theme, and I just love ours because I think ours is just, like Conti was doing the like kind of Vivaldi-esque classical, which we have little bits of, but ours was, I mean, Terry is such an 80s bad guy, and we just needed something that plays that. And every time you see
It
that,
feels like a Michael Mann movie every
totally,
time he's
exactly,
there. Yeah.
exactly. It's darker and still twisted, but I really am gonna miss working with his theme for sure.
I'm curious as viewers when as the show went on and then at the end of season one they introduce John Kreese. Uh, and then fans start like, oh, who they are, they have this John Kreese character throughout season two, and then they bring in Chosen, and they bring in Allie. Are you guys as composers doing the same thing? Like, oh my gosh, are they bringing in all these people? Are they going to bring in Terry Silver someday? Like, did you guys have that
Yeah,
discussion? Like,
for
oh,
Oh
sure.
yeah. Yeah, we're always guessing along. We don't read the scripts ahead of time until we start working on an episode. So we're just as surprised as everybody just a few months in advance. And I think it
We have our
really
own
helps
theories
our,
too. We
yeah,
have
we
like
have
our
our
own
own
theories.
theories. That has helped our process a lot because we're just so creatively in it and like guessing. And every time they do bring someone back, it's like a little injection into us of like some new material we can develop, new relationships we can develop, and then that proliferates into the rest of the score. So I mean, that's some of the best stuff for us.
so as you develop these original themes for the characters, the Sam LaRusso theme or the John Kreese theme, as the show progresses, the characters start switching sides. And then you start taking these themes that you've created and you start blending them and creating a new piece of music based on these existing themes that you've created. As the series went on, because you had these existing themes that you've composed, was it easier to compose that blended music as opposed to writing an original piece of music? Or was it harder or just as difficult because you're still creating a new piece of music, even though you're using blended themes?
I think it's about the same in terms of difficulty. Like you're just as focused when you're doing all of it. The um, having themes to work with does work your brain a little differently when you're sort of like discovering something new about something that some material you've already written as opposed to like coming up with new material. I don't think one is harder than the other, but it's in some ways transforming stuff is more of the art of film scoring and a little more exciting because you're surprised with what you come up with when you're kind of changing things, especially over like 7 years, like we were doing.
I want to talk about the Spider-Man show, but before we do, I got one final Cobra Kai question. What was the best
Yeah.
experience now that the show's come to an end? What was your best memorable experience of working on Cobra Kai?
How do we sum that up in 1 minute? I mean, short story is it changed our lives. It's not often that we get to work on something for this long and that's this successful and that is this beloved and that was so much of a creatively fulfilling project for both of us. It's like, I mean, this came out 2 weeks ago, the finale, and like we're feeling a bit of withdrawals, like a little postpartum. Like it was a big, every year we would come back to it. So working on it, just sitting down on every episode, writing themes, especially for Terry, it was like, we're so fortunate. It was a blessing to be able to do it every day.
So one series ends, another one begins, right? We have
Oh yeah.
Such is life.
your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which just completed its first season on Disney Plus. Spider-Man has been interpreted in many different forms over the years in different movies, different composers writing those scores for the movies, a TV show, animation. What was the challenge of creating something new for this character, Spider-Man? Kind of walk me through your process as you jumped in and had to take this familiar character that's been interpreted so many different ways and doing something new with it.
Yeah, I mean it's big shoes to fill. Spider-Man is everywhere and also like among the most beloved, if not the most beloved superhero for many, many people of all ages out there. So, I mean, the big pressure is, well, let's not let anybody down. I think we wanted to, honestly, we wanted to sound like ourselves in like approaching the show. Um, and not try to do anything that anyone had done before or sounds like anything that had done before. Where I feel like, really excel creatively is kind of like looking at a show or a movie and prescribing just like maybe like a concept to it that's like a little crazier than anyone else would come up with, and then like going really hard in that direction. And so, like for this show, just the animation was really inspiring, and we just kind of watching it, we felt a lot of influence from like anime, which we're both fans of, and wanted to bring kind of that kind of energy and melodic scoring to the score for this. And I think what we both really like about the show is that there's a huge chunk of it is a bit of like a slice of life vibe in like Peter's high school life. And we wanted to come up with a sound for that felt original to like the way you would score a TV show. And it's where what we came up with is really influenced by like lo-fi music, lo-fi hip hop, which is super common in like youth culture today. I feel like such a dad saying like youth culture, but like
Hello, youth.
it's like, yeah, hello, my fellow youth. But like we listen to lo-fi when we're just like chilling, and so like it's something that high schoolers also listen to, and we wanted to kind of bring that in. And then again, like Cobra Kai, there's the magic of you've set up a palette that has some diverse influences, and then you find ways to mix it. And I think that's just kind of where we really excel and where we sound like ourselves as artists. And that's what we wanted to bring to the table. And people seem to really like it. So I'm glad we did it.
Zach, what were you mentioned the lo-fi influences and the anime influences? Are there any specific influences in particular in that genre that
Any
inspired
specific
Spider-Man?
ones? I don't know, Leo, are there any really specific ones? I mean, I think we were just yeah, I mean like I think we were just inspired by just kind of the lo-fi like fanaticism that there is online. And it felt like a pretty apt superhero to apply that to because he's so
Yeah.
young. Um,
And he's like so lo-fi with his like homemade suit
that's
and
true.
everything. Like everything about Peter Parker until he's like kind of levels up. He's not just Spider-Man, he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
he's a very accessible superhero.
Yeah,
Um,
that it's like I think actually what everyone is really happy about with the show who worked on it, and I think what makes it different is just the stakes don't feel as like high as like maybe an Avengers movie would. And I think that's how people really connect to these heroes in the first place from the comics. Like you're just kind of with them every day. And there's something nice about having the score play those, as Leo said, slice of life moments. And I imagine like Peter Parker listening to lo-fi or watching anime, honestly. So that's just what we wanted to channel.
You both done work as solo composers. Zach specifically, you're the composer on Matlock, which is
Oh yeah,
on the air on CBS.
different
Talk
age
about
audience.
what are the benefits of composing music together as a duo versus doing composing as a solo artist.
Uh, you say the nice thing first, Leo.
Well, I mean, they feed each other so well. I think like the the creative process is a little different, but it's like you any music I write alone is so much better because of all the music that I collaborate with Zach on. Like and then I feel like if we are doing our own things, we're then having experiences that we then bring together and then makes us into like, the Power Ranger Mecha Warrior thing. Like we're just it's a different writing style, so it works your brain in different ways. And so creatively you come up with different things. And when we're working together, we come up with different ideas than either of us would come up with separately. Like and so it's like totally fresh and new. And I cherish that project. I cherish that process. I always tell other composers like they should be trying to like write with other people more because I think we have really gotten a huge amount out of it artistically. And sometimes this job can be very solitary,
It's
but
very
not for us.
solitary. And it's solitary when we're working on our own stuff and I don't have Leo to call to complain about a note I got or like we just want to commiserate together because that's when you think about it when you're at the office with someone you just like you take a break you get like snack you just like commiserate and then you go back to work and you feel better after you do it so like it's nice to have someone bounce just like yeah just being not alone with someone is really special.
Well, you guys have done fantastic work on both series. The music, soundtracks for Cobra Kai, you can buy on CD and purchase on download. I believe this Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man music is also available for downloads as well. Leo and Zach, thanks so much for chatting with us today on Cherry the Geek TV.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Joe.
having us.
Appreciate it.